For the value or money, in return they expect all this: access to goods, labor, professional skill, facilities and network. If you render any service to the customers, so here there is no transfer of ownership. The services is not ready to sale for the consumer. At the time of consumption only, you are going to render the services. Hello everyone, I am Meghana from the Department of Commerce, lecturing in Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. We are in the session 1 of Unit 5, Subject Marketing Management. In today's session, let us start with the Unit 5, that is Services Marketing. So, let us start with today's session. In today's session, let us discuss with Introduction, Meaning and Definition, Importance, Difference between Goods and Services, and 7 P's of Service Marketing. So let us start with today's session. Introduction. Services are intangible economic activities offered by one party to another. Often time-based, services performed bring out desired result to recipient, objects and other assets for which parties have responsibility. That means service means intangible attributes. So service is an intangible economic activity which is offered by one person to another person, which is offered by one party to another party. Usually goods are tangible assets, goods are tangible attributes, services are intangible attributes. It is offered from the firm to the consumers. So from one party to another party, in return they'll expect some returns. For the service, they'll expect some returns. So that is value. In exchange for money, time, effort, service customers expected value from access to goods, labor, professional skill, facilities, networks, any systems. But they do not normally take ownership of any of the physical elements involved. In case of service, for the exchange of money, time, effort, service customer, they expect access to the goods, labor, professional skill, facilities, network and systems. So here for the value or money, in return they expect all this: access to goods, labor, professional skill, facilities and network. So here they do not normally, the ownership is not transferred. The person who is going to receive this service is not going to take any physical goods. So the ownership, transfer of ownership is not done in case of services. Usually in the goods, we'll transfer the ownership of goods. So when you purchase the goods, the ownership is transferred from the seller to the buyer. Here the transfer of ownership is not possible. So here they expect only the professional skill, facilities, network for the exchange of money values. So here this is the service marketing. Service marketing is a strategy which promotes and showcases the intangible benefits and offerings delivered by a company, drive end customer value. So here service marketing, it is a strategy used by the organization, used by the firm in order to they give the offers, benefits, in order to give the offers delivered by the company to the consumers in order to drive the end users value. So if the manufacturer or if the firms render the services to the customers, so it adds value to their business. So it adds benefits. It acts as a benefit for their business. So in order to drive the value from customers, value of the customers, they render services. So this is the strategy used by the organization or firms. So they render services in order to increase their business value, in order to create the goodwill. So here they render services to the customers. The American Marketing Association defines services marketing as an organizational function and set of processing for identifying or creating, communicating and delivering the value to the customers and for managing the customer relationship in a way that benefits the organization and stakeholders. Here, according to American Marketing Association, they define service marketing as organizational function. So it is the organizational functions and set of process. So this is the set of process which includes identifying or creating, communicating and delivering the values. So first you need to identify or create, then you need to communicate and deliver the value or deliver the services to the final users or consumers. And for managing the customer relationship, in order to maintain the good relationship between the manufacturer or the producer and the consumers, in order to maintain the good relationship between the producer and consumer, you need to render some services. So in a way that from this service, it should act as a benefit, it acts as a advantage for the organization as well as for the stakeholders. This service should be act as an advantage or benefit. For example, after sales services like home delivery. So when you purchase the goods, they give services, free home delivery services. So from this service, it acts as a benefit for the organization. So the customer build, it helps to create a good image about the company, so that the customer will purchase the goods and services from your company or brand. So it helps to create the good image about the company, and it creates the brand loyalty. So if you are rendering the services, so it creates brand loyalty as well as it creates good image about the company. So it acts as a benefits for the organization as well as for the stakeholders. Next, importance of service marketing. So first one is intangible benefits. Services are intangible. You cannot see, touch and feel the goods, but it is an intangible benefits. For example, a customer purchase a car means is not only purchase a physical thing, that is car, but he also expects some intangible attributes like seating arrangement, comfort traveling and loan facilities and after sales services. So he expects some of the benefits. So that is intangible attributes. If the manufacturer satisfy both the tangible as well as this intangible attributes, then only it helps to create the good image and brand loyalty. So this intangible benefits, services creates intangible benefits. So it acts as a benefit for the organization also. So if the manufacturers render the services to the consumers, so it acts as a benefit. It is not a tangible benefits, it is an intangible benefits for the organization. So it helps in creating the good image and brand loyalty. So you cannot see and touch that brand loyalty and the good image, but it is an intangible benefits. It is intangible benefits for the organization and stakeholders. If you render the services for the customers, so it helps to create the good image for the company as well as the stakeholders. Then no ownership. If you render any service to the customers, so here there is no transfer of ownership. So there is no transfer of ownership in case of services. But in case of goods, if you sell the goods, then the ownership is immediately transferred from the seller to the buyer. But in case of service, no ownership is transferred. Next, inseparability. The goods can be separable, but the services, you cannot separate the services. Separatability. Variability. So high variability in case of goods, but in case of services, no high variability. Perishability. Some of the goods can perishable for some duration, but most of the goods cannot be perishable for a longer period. But in case of services, there is no perishability. So services, you are going to render the services at the time of consumption only. So no perishability for services. So for the goods cannot be perishable for a longer period, but in case of services, there is no perishability because the services is rendered at the time of consumptions only. Then people involvement. Here, less people involved in the services compared to goods. So here, the service, it requires only the specialist or skilled person and the consumer only. When you are going to render the services, it requires less human or people involvement. So that compared to goods, the involvement of people is less in the services. It reduces the expenses for the organization. It helps to reduce the expenses for the organization. So these all are the importance of service marketing. Next one, difference between the goods and services. So the differences are, first one, basis for comparison. Here this is the goods and services. First meaning, goods are the material items that can be seen, touched or felt and are ready for sale to the consumer. So here the goods can be seen, touched, felt and it is ready for the sale to the customers. But in case of services are amenities, facilities, benefits or help provided by other people. So services means it is a amenities, facilities, benefits or help provided by one person to another person, but it is not ready to sale. The services is not ready to sale for the consumer. At the time of consumption only, you are going to render the services. So nature, goods are tangible, services are intangibles. Transfer of ownership. Yes, you can transfer the ownership in case of goods. You cannot transfer the ownership in case of services. Next, evaluation. It is very simple and easy because the goods you can see and touch and felt. It is easy to evaluate the goods. But in case of services, it is complicated. So it is quite complicated compared to goods to evaluate. Next, return. Goods can be returned. Goods can be returned. If the goods is not satisfied or damaged means you can return the goods. But service cannot be returned back once they are provided. For example, if you gone for a haircut, if you gone for salon, it's a kind of service. After the service rendered from the producer or the manufacturer, from the service provider, the consumer cannot return the service back. So here services cannot be returned back once they are provided. Next one, separatability is goods can be separated from the sellers. No services cannot be separated from the service provider. So you cannot separate the service from the service provider. Variability. So it is identical. Variability is identical in case of goods, but in case of services it is diversified. Then storage. Goods can be stored for the use of future or multiple use. Good, you can store the goods for the future use, but service cannot be stored. So you cannot store the services. At the time of consumption only you will get the service. Then last one, production and consumption. There is a time lag between the production and consumption of goods. That means the time of production and the time of consumption is two different times. So there is a lag in time between the production and consumption. But in case of services, production and consumption of services occurs simultaneously. That means at the time of production only the consumption is also occurred. At the same time the production as well as the consumption is taken place. So this is all about difference between goods and services. Next one, last topic for the unit 5, 7 P's of service marketing. Now you all know the 7 P's for the service marketing is product, pricing, place, promotion, people, process and physical evidence. Both the 7 P's for goods and services are same, but the explanation is different for the goods as well as for the services. First P is product. In case of goods, product means a physical thing or physical item. So in case of physical attributes, tangible attributes. In case of services, product means intangible attributes. In the last example, car is a physical thing, that is a tangible attribute. It considered as a goods or it comes under goods, but the seating arrangement, then comfort traveling, loan facilities expected from the customer, all this comes under intangible attributes. So you can consider it as a product but under services. So home delivery, so this is also considered as a service under product. Under product it comes under all the services, all the intangible attributes comes under product. So your product, your service should be, even though if it is intangible attributes, it should have some value. So how the goods have some value, in a similar way services also should have some value for the customers. Then pricing. So you should also price the services. No services are provided for free of cost. They will charge for service also. So here while pricing the service, So you need to consider the value for the services. You cannot charge higher prices for the services or too low price for the services. Either you can provide free services or paid services. Paid services means you should fix the reasonable price for the services. Then place of service provider. If the consumer is located in Mysuru but the service provider is located in Delhi, means it is not provided at a right time at a right place. So you need to locate, you need to open an outlet, or you need to distribute your product or services. You need to make sure that your service is provided at a where the demand is more. So you need to provide the service at a right time at a right place. Then promotion. Both the goods also required promotion as well as the service also required promotion. So for the service also you need to promote. You need to promote your service so that it helps to, it acts as an advantage. It helps to increase the demand for your services. Then people. So the manufacturer will do all this activity in order to satisfy the people. So all this goods as well as the service. So the marketing activity will start with the people and ends with the people. So your main intention is to satisfy the people. So your target is people. So consumer satisfaction. So you need to consider the people or the consumers, their needs and wants. Then process. Manufacturing the goods and reach the goods from the manufacturer to the consumer, it is a continuous process. In a similar way, service is also a continuous process. So you need to collect the information from the customers and you need to make the changes, adopt the changes. Then you need to render the service to the consumers. Then you need to get the feedback from customers, as well as if there is any changes are required, you need to make changes. Then again you need to provide services. So it is a continuous process. So it is a never ending process. It is a continuous process. Next, physical evidence. Even the service cannot be seen, touched and felt, but it should have some physical evidence. Your service should be able to judge or evaluate from the customers. It should have some physical evidence to evaluate. So this is all about 7 P's of service marketing. So for example, hospital or hotel industry, all this comes under service marketing. They render service for the consumers. In return, they expect some values or money. So in return, they expect values or money and they render services. So here it's an intangible attributes. You cannot see the services. So you cannot see and felt or touch the services. It is an intangible attribute. It requires, so the consumer will use that services. This is all about 7 P's of service marketing. So this is the last session for the first sem B.B.A marketing management. Let us meet in the next session. Until then, keep watching. Thank you.